All right, everyone. It's Leland Best out here at Wake Up West Coast. It's lunchtime, which simply means we got to get things rolling around here because we're already on a 12 o'clock schedule out here on the East Coast of the U.S. All those folks over there on the West Coast of the U.S. haven't probably gotten started yet. They're just getting things rolling. So what we do out here at Wake Up West Coast is we get together with whoever is awake and wants to sit down and do a little bit of networking. So I've brought a couple of friends of mine out to the show today, one being Alex Bertlin from Sweden, and another is going to be Mohammed Hassan Khan, who's going to be coming to us from Pakistan. We have not seen Hassan step into the group just yet, but we're going to bring Alex out here in just a minute. So just a rundown, we are out there broadcasting to Facebook and YouTube simultaneously. If you'd like to be part of the conversation, come over to Get Vocal. There's a link in the chat, or you'll see us on the front screen out there at getvocal.com. I can port the comments in, so if you are out there and want to leave a comment, or if you want to tweet, hashtag Get Vocal, that's GETVOKL. We can bring those right up here on the screen so that we can answer your questions as we move ahead. So I'm going to open up the seats and let Alex pop in here so we can do a little bit of networking. Alex, Mr. Sweden himself, what is going on, dude? Nice to see you today. I hope all is well with you over there on the other side of the pond. Can you hear me, sir?
Hold on. I can't hear you. Why?
He can't hear me again. Let me check my thing. I'm not muting out, am I? We do run into that issue sometimes, Alex. Just try to refresh or check your broadcast default settings under the menu at the top where it says default broadcast settings. You may be able to change those. If you don't, that's okay. Okay, you just muted yourself. And that can have a detrimental effect because sometimes you can't unmute yourself. Just jump out, hop back in. You should be okay. And that's all right. These are some of the things that we deal with out here at Get Vocal because these are live hot seats. These aren't just your typical, hey, come on in. I'm going to share a link with you and you're going to be on my show. These are open chairs that anybody can hop in at any time. We like to refrain from others popping in while we're doing an interview, but we're going to be opening those up shortly. Can you hear me now?
I can hear you. Can you hear me?
I can. We're good, Alex. All right. Awesome.
Wow. Amazing.
So, every now and then things do work the way they're supposed to. We find that out one way or another. So let me just give the audience a little bit of a rundown on how we met, Alex, so they get a little better understanding. Both Alex and I work together simultaneously, sometimes on and off again, sometimes never at all. But that's over there at Amy Carrier's classroom. And what we have been doing is broadcasting like once a week or did regularly for a period of time. It started about 1.5 years ago, I think, wasn't it, Alex? Somewhere in there, or almost 2 years ago now. And we broadcast globally to all kinds of individuals around the world in different countries. And Alex was doing his Bitcoin cryptocurrency broadcast. I was doing my live stream training broadcast to get people to understand what we do here in live streaming. And it went off really well when him and I met. So we just kind of worked together. I showed him some things about live streaming. He's been talking to me about Bitcoin. So, Alex, I'm going to let you give a rundown of, how you got over to Amy's and first off, who you are, where you're from, and how you got involved in crypto in the first place. And we'll go from there.
Okay. So I'm Swedish. I live in Sweden. I used to live some years in Norway, but I moved back to Sweden a couple of years ago. I'm originally from computer sales when I was younger. I moved into construction at a later stage in life. Then I got sick of construction and I tried to find something else to do. But, a very long story compromised, is I didn't find anything else to do. So I was going back into construction. Mm-hmm. And I met this guy, an old friend of mine that showed me, the basics of Bitcoin. And he said, hey, man, you should look deeper into this and maybe not just as an investment, but look at it at least. And I know that you're looking at new stuff to do. I know that you hate your job. So at least have a look at this. And my train was actually supposed to leave the day after to Norway. I was going to start like a new construction project in Norway. And I canceled that ticket. And I just said, okay, let's take this a couple of weeks and see what it is. Oh, and what I found after maybe 1 week was that I was completely convinced it was complete bullshit. like it was a full-blown scam, Bitcoin, everything.
A lot of people did. Yeah.
And I just said that I'm gonna do it anyways. I'm gonna promote it. I was in such a bad shape in that period. I was ready to do anything, and I don't feel particularly good about what I was going to do at that stage. But a couple of months into self-educating, then you see what it's really about, and I'm really happy I was deciding to go rogue and look deeper into it.
Rather than like selling your blood or other bodily fluids for any profit margin that you can come up with. I totally get it. I mean, I've been in a situation a couple of times in my past where things were rock bottom, and you're just like, man, where am I going to go next? I've probably reinvented myself 5 times over from my career in construction, which was all civil engineering based. Yours was actually swinging the equipment and making sure things got built, right? You were on the end, we're actually putting it together. So big change, obviously, but that one conversation took you somewhere, didn't it? And it's, from what I've seen over the last couple of years, you've just dove in head first. I watch what you do when it comes to your videos and the things that you're helping to promote. So can you tell us from that conversation, as you started to learn about Bitcoin and blockchain technology, how did you grow and evolve into that so quickly? I mean, what was it that really sparked the next stage, the next evolution of that career for you?
Well, I'm going to be honest, and it was obviously money for my part. I saw the value increase, and that was what caught me in the beginning, because I needed food on the tables, and I saw this massive value increase back in. I mean, I guess this was 3.5, 4 years ago. Yeah, I was kind of broke at the time, so I'm no big investor 4 years ago, but at least I started to dabble with it and learn and make some small investments in the beginning. So that was the original reason. Then after some time, when you understand the fundamentals of blockchain and decentralization, then you see other venues where you can earn money by teaching, for example, like we do, teaching others, because people are willing to pay for the information that we have gained in a couple of years, because it's kind of a scary new thing, and it's difficult to understand if you don't have someone that can explain it in an easy way.
And so we're going to get to that in a minute for everybody who's not familiar with it. I didn't mean to cut you short, Alex, but we are going to get into that. So continue on where you went from there. We're going to cover I have a diagram of like all the lingo that's used in blockchain and Bitcoin and wallets and all that, so that we can kind of just do a glaze over, so everybody gets a 30,000 foot view of Bitcoin and blockchain and how you worked into that. But just tell us how that one move made you really get hardcore into Bitcoin. Did you start with just Bitcoin, or did you all of a sudden realize that there was a whole array of different cryptocurrencies out there and started to just diverge and go off in different directions?
No, that was only Bitcoin in the beginning. That was big enough to understand. So I really wasn't looking. I saw this other, I saw Ethereum. Later on, we saw Litecoin and a couple of others coming out, but it was too much to focus for me. I'm a slow learner, okay? So, I focus on Bitcoin and see what's happening over there. But today is a different situation. Now you need to get like a more market awareness, so you need to see the whole picture.
Yeah, and that whole picture kind of involves what I've got behind me, and I'm going to disappear while Alex is sitting here, and I'm going to ask you to kind of help the viewers that are here right now, because I know not everyone here has a good handle on Bitcoin and blockchain technologies. I know the summation of it, which is that people are out there running computers that are actually verifying transactions, and then in that process they get paid to do that. So can you give us a rundown here basically of how the system works? If you see what I have here, it's a computer with the mining principle, the blockchain concepts, the wallets, the crypto. Give us that 30,000 2-minute elevator speech on crypto.
Well, can I make your picture somehow larger, because I only see a small thumbnail?
You can't, Alex. Oh, are you seeing just me? Basically, I'm not asking you to follow the diagram at all. If you can just give people the idea of how Bitcoin or cryptocurrencies in general function and how they're created and how they create value for the holder, that's really all I'm going to do is that overview, and then we'll discuss little minor features of it as Hassan shows, if Hassan shows up on time.
Sure. Okay, so if we separate everything and only focus on Bitcoin for just for ease,
Yeah.
So I guess the best way to start is by saying that it's Bitcoin and the blockchain that it runs on is a completely automated digital software. There are no employees that is managing this type of software. It's a distributed ledger, and I'm going to explain this like I needed to learn myself, as as a construction worker. I needed to remove all the technical languages and so on. So if you look at your bank today and your account on that bank, that is simply just a note in the local bank's register, correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It's a credit or a debit, depending on which way you look at it.
Yeah, so it's just a local book with transactions. Some people have like a misgiving perception that you actually have your mobile wallet in your phone or something. That's not really the case. You just send a signal to the bank asking permission for them to change the register. So you need to trust the bank in order to do so. Same way, if you want to transfer your money from your bank to, let's say, a bank in Germany, a small bank in Germany, then your bank must already have established a trust to that new bank in order for them to call that bank, for example, and ask them to change the register. If you send money from your local bank in the States and to the bank in Germany, then both banks must change the transaction record. And the banks obviously need to trust each other. And let's say that if you have a bank that is very small in another country, then maybe the bank needs to employ another bank that trusts the other bank, So it's kind of
you got all these banks wrapped into one, just trying to get a simple transaction of like $1,000 from the U.S. to another country.
Yeah, obviously the banks today have established somewhat good trust and so on, but we are outside that trust zone. So blockchain, if you take your local bank ledger and let's say you make 1,000 digital copies of that transaction book, and you spread that in, let's say you put 100 copies in 10 countries. So then you have the ledgers are connected on internet and they're updated in real time. So let's say that if you want to send me some Bitcoin on the blockchain, then a signal goes out to all these ledgers, and they are trying to verify if Leland has the amount that he's trying to send to me, for example. And at least 51% of all the ledgers must say yes or no if you don't have the money, of course. So that means that if you're looking to hack the system, then you need to hack at least 51% of the ledgers or the distributed ledgers, the computers. And if you look at Bitcoin, that is much, much larger than what I just explained. So then you need to hack tens of thousands of computers to make changes in the transaction book. And as I said, there are no employees. You don't have to pay salaries. There are no office building that is, housing the software. It's free to install the software. You can help the network by lending your computing power into the network to verify transactions. I'm not going to go technical into that.
No,
but you will be rewarded by Bitcoin when you're borrowing your computing power into the network. And there is a set number of coins in the system that can never change. In Bitcoin's example, it's 21 million coins. Today, I think we have.
So that varies across all the different cryptocurrencies, have different market cap values, obviously, so that there may be 21 million Bitcoins, but there might be 40 million of another coin or 100 million of this other coin. And that's what's really determining the gross value that's put on the market for these individual currencies. Because can you kind of explain in a sense, how that value is created? Where, I mean, yeah, the person on the network can actually get paid, like we said, to confirm a registry entry. So that's the proof of work. That's the knowledge that, oops, I apologize for that. I didn't expect to receive a call at this time. Based on that fact alone, people are receiving Bitcoin in much smaller amounts now than they used to because they were given out. Really? You're not going to just take that as a sign that I don't that you can't be calling me right now? I'm sorry. You're going to have to call back later. Okay. In regards to the principle of using it as a currency and having it replace fiat income money, is there ever going to be a time where we're going to be able to actually buy things straight up with nothing but Bitcoin? Is that in the foreseeable future?
Yeah, you can actually do that in quite a few places today, mostly online, but you can see this in maybe coffee shops, local small entrepreneurs that is starting to accept crypto directly. Most systems do use like an exchange intermediary, like there are some plugins in your in your POS that you can actually have like a real-time exchange. So the vendor doesn't actually receive crypto. There is an exchange happening when, if I pay with Bitcoin, for example, there is an invisible exchange and the vendor gets fiat currency. But it's slowly getting there.
So Don says he accepts Bitcoin on littlebeaches.com. He got his Wirex card already. So there are some people here who are using Bitcoin the way that it's expected to be used soon. I know you're a big proponent of Wirex yourself. Can you tell us a bit of where you're seated right now in the whole blockchain environment? Who you're dealing with, the types of wallets you're using, any of the people you're involved with? Give us kind of a rundown of who Alex Bertlin in the crypto space is.
Well, right now I'm working as an advisor in a couple of ICOs or ITOs. Today it's BitDepository, Nitec, and a couple of others that is coming up soon. So that's kind of my main focus, to give some advice on starting up these companies and how to promote the ICOs. Especially for my part, I love the social media network. So that's my kind of a skill, how to tweak messages.
Yeah. I don't know where that came from. That was my friend Chris Ripko posted something about things we're not supposed to be discussing here on Get Vocal this morning. We're supposed to be talking about Bitcoin. Sorry about that. It was I was looking for Hassan to see whether or not he'd replied. He actually hasn't replied to my last message on Facebook. So I suspect it could be a number of things. He's a very busy man. Hassan runs a manufacturing facility. His family is very involved with that. And along with the fact that he is a mover and a shaker when it comes to the business he's running. Didn't he just do a hackathon or something over in Pakistan recently as well?
Yeah, I'm not sure if he was the founder of the hackathon. I know that he was participating. I'm not sure. Yeah.
Well, while we're on the topic of Hassan, you guys met, I believe, as well through Amy Carrier's classroom. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, here is Mohammed Hassan Khan. If you're familiar with who just recently took office as the prime minister, well, I should say, the prime minister of Pakistan is Imran Khan. So he has the same last name, not to be associated with, but just so you guys get an understanding, you may have heard that name before. Hassan is someone who is a blockchain evangelist. He's an advisor and a cryptocurrency proponent, speaker, coder, author. He just had 2 recent publications. One was put on Medium under Data-Driven Investor, under blockchain scaling and using side chains. So when we talk about people who are in the know, Hassan is one of those people who are writing articles in the know to get people to understand some of the technology that's out there. Now, tell us about how you guys are crossing borders between Sweden and Pakistan with regards to the work you two have been doing together.
Yeah. So I think we connected just after you and me connected, actually.
Yes. Yeah.
It was more than a year ago. And we got into some good discussions on blockchain and crypto. And we hit it off, like you and me. We became friends, real good friends. Mm-hmm. And we started to, I think Essen was the one that invited me to one of the first ICOs that I participated in as an advisor.
Okay.
And after that, it kind of spiraled off. Today, I am like a Nordic advisor for Blockchain Forum of Pakistan. Gotcha. My job there is to bridge the Nordic countries, the Nordic blockchain scene to the Pakistani blockchain scene. I guess that's
I get it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that's good though,
because
well, what that shows us is that there really aren't many borders when it comes, because think about it, you know, I can't just go and make a common exchange with someone like even my friend Nazim in Italy, because he uses different currency than I do. So we would have to go through a process of, you know, converting our coin or cash into some other form of currency in order to exchange, unless we had a method through a banking system that would allow us the exchange rates as we transfer the funding. We could use PayPal, I'm sure, in some cases, but like places like Pakistan don't have access to PayPal. So the technology that we have in front of us here is now allowing us to make those transactions almost in immediate time. With regard to that, I hear a lot that, you know, Bitcoin is so slow that we need a faster technology, that there's this technology that's 20 times faster. Can you kind of explain where Bitcoin is going to evolve into? Because obviously people say that that's not like the next crypto. What's going to happen to the next crypto?
Well, who knows really, but I mean that Bitcoin needs to scale up. Of course, it could only stay as it is, and people might use it as a store of value like gold. Mm-hmm. But if they want to, if the blockchain want to survive in like use cases and a lot of transactions, then they need to do something, and they are doing it. Look at the Lightning Network. I'm not the most technical guy about this, so Essen is the go-to guy to explain that. Lightning Network is something like a layer upon the Bitcoin blockchain that helps speed up this a lot. But if you look at the core technicalities of Bitcoin, it's too slow. They can manage 4 to 7 transactions per second. If you compare that to other blockchains, it's kind of low. I think Tron blockchain has 2,000 transactions per second, so it's a big difference. But even Tron is too slow for future use. So, sorry. So all of these blockchains right now need to scale up, and Essen can explain why, because he's also into Internet of Things, and when you're going to connect Internet of Things like sensors and that into the blockchain, then you need millions of transactions per second. Yeah, and that is something that Essen is looking into as well. So hopefully he will jump on here and he can have a few words about that. But that is his place. He's the tech guru.
That's what I thought. I mean, you're more of the person that's helping people understand the principles that can be used in their life now, the way that they could apply it both as an investment, as a strategy going ahead to maybe, like you said, pull some cash needed out of thin air if need be, because there are those possibilities as an investor. You know, they've just recently taken on futures over at NASDAQ where you can actually shoot for the moon if you wanted to on which direction it's going, up, down, side, left, who knows? I mean, I'm not huge in investments. I'm just not that type of individual. I'm a service-oriented guy. I've never spent much of my money in investing at this time in my life. I don't know why. It's just something that I never spent a lot of time on. But I do want to get involved in some type of crypto process. So I have a wallet, but I have just one of 100,000 wallets that are out there now. How can somebody sift through all this and know where to start? Where does the rookie go to begin their journey in blockchain?
Well, I think everyone needs to, of course, do their own research before investing in any space. So the best way, I guess, is if you have someone that knows what they're doing. If not, search for that person or people. That's what I had to do 4 years ago, because there were no education available.
You're okay. Don't worry about it.
Yeah. Okay.
It's an informal thing. It's not a big deal. If it gets all crazy right up over your head, you can mute for a minute, and I can take the mic for a sec. It's not a big deal.
Yeah. No, so I mean, search for people that know more. Connect with them. That's what I did.
Well, you're here, so I'm going to do this much. Since the sound didn't show up in the time frame that we expected, I suspect this broadcast will probably run a little bit shorter than normal. But what I will do is open up the seats for some of the people that are here that might have some questions. If you don't mind taking those here while you're in the hot seat, I'll have folks jump in and introduce themselves, say hi to you over there in Sweden. What time is it over there right now? You're, what, 6 hours ahead of me, right? So I'm 12:30. You're
25 p.m.
Okay. Sounds good. We don't want to keep you too long. So the seats are open, folks. If anyone like Donald, Lindsay, Joe, AC, Rich, any of you guys want to hop in here and say hi to Alex while you're here, feel free. We got Donald Brandt from Denmark coming in to say hello. So he's not too far from you there, buddy. There it is. Got his card. Go ahead, show that again. Let me take a screenshot. Okay, now I got your numbers. Flip it over so I can get those last three.
I just got this in the mail today.
Today?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. Very cool.
Yeah.
I've known Don since Black.
Card.
Yeah. So how long have you been holding crypto?
So this works basically like a debit card. So
I'm going to mute you for just a second.
That it's
Alex,
connected via Visa.
Okay.
So I can use it like a debit card. So when I can accept money. I can accept Bitcoin on with Stripe on my website right now. That's not a problem to set up. But I was talking to his name's on the tip of my tongue. I'll think of it in a minute. He basically is building and setting up a network of ATMs that you can buy Bitcoin with, or you could deposit Bitcoin.
Oh, you might be
around Europe.
Andy, I think. You may have muted yourself permanently, Alex. I'm not certain. Sometimes the system freaks and it like flips out with I can't unmute you right now. I muted you first. Oh, there you go. Okay, you're cool.
Yeah.
So is that Andy by any chance? Is his name?
No.
You're talking about? Because I knew a guy who was putting stuff together for Charlene that way too, in ATMs for Bitcoin.
But anyways, he basically is setting up these ATM machines around Europe and the United States. But he basically said, well, yeah, he goes, once you have one of these machines near you, you'll be able to go in and do transactions on the machine as if you were just doing a transaction on any other ATM machine. You could take money out in the form of a certain currency like euros or dollars. Well, here it would be euros or Danish crowns if they place the machine near the border. It's pretty cool. It's just for convenience. So, yeah. But I was just reading some stuff about Open Ledger, and the thing that it struck me as that means that it's very resource driven. You know what I mean? Like it takes a lot of servers to run an Open Ledger system. When I think that a really cool solution to that would be, are you listening?
Yeah.
A single centralized system that has like maybe four or five servers, but they're still not causing any kind of fees to be generated, because basically any of these fees that are generated are, I guess it would be from the operation of the standpoint, most of these guys that probably say, oh, we want to keep it, fee resistant. They want to be resistant to fees because they don't want people to say, oh, well, we got to tack on a fee here or tack on a fee there for every transaction. I just think a centralized system would be cool that is not really operated by a person or an entity. It's like the entity that's actually controlling it.
So maybe like some AI centralized decentralization is what I'm trying to. Alex, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, I think I get where Don's going with it, but
I think I was going in the same direction as you, Leland.
Yeah. It's just hard to really fathom the idea of, a lot of people say this is a decentralized system. That what really I think they're trying to say is they're pulling away from that which was built before that has become such a burden on society, which is we have no control over the way our money goes anymore. We can't. I remember when I used to go in and put money in a CD, I could literally earn 6 to 12% interest on my savings. 6 to 12%, and that was less than 25 years ago. Well, maybe 35 years ago. I was just a kid, but I remember opening those CDs at 18 and getting that kind of interest rate return on my money. You can't see 0.1% anymore on your cash. We're being ripped off by the banking system in a way that's was considered loan sharking 30 years ago. Paying 25% interest on your money was unheard of at that time. You used to pay 5 to 10%, maybe 11 or 12 if banking was having a tough time. So how do we use something that we've overinflated cash? Obviously there's nothing left for that to speak of in real essence. They want to tie now Bitcoin to gold. Alex, how's that working out? I'm hearing this stuff going on. Is it really the way that it's going to function in the future? Are we going to have a tangible asset underlying the blockchain and Bitcoin, or is it
you
just
don't need it?
I don't think
you don't need it.
Alex knows more about that than I do, so I'd like to hear a little bit.
If you want to have a stable value, which we are going to need if we are going to have mass adoption, then you need to have an underlying value that doesn't move like gold. And we see a lot of gold ore, for example, dollar, but that is moving down every day, as we know. Gold is better. So that way, it's needed because it will take many years before the value stabilizes, if ever.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just speculation market. So.
I was just going to say, too, that's one of the things that I've heard spoken about in many different places. Eric Nakamoto, he's basically said that too. He says, you can't tie any type of another entity to Bitcoin, because then it's just going to take on the personality of that other entity or other product or other thing. It's something that its stability comes in its numbers. It's got a certain finite number, and its value goes up and down based on the market and what the market is willing to pay for it as well. So these valuations and these things, like even the difference between Bitcoin and Ethereum, I look at that and I just think, well, Ethereum's got a really good system that's running underneath it, its core. But at the same time, Bitcoin was like the first one to the party, so it's got the highest valuation.
And that's really what's running it, right, Alex? Is that being that first to initiate the concept was really what's keeping it on board, and they're trying to. It almost seems like they're just trying to always resuscitate a dead horse to find out if it'll stay alive long enough to work. Do you see that just at some point, maybe saying, okay, Bitcoin, you've had your chance. It's not going to function. We've updated you. We've got much better ways of doing this. Let's just move away from Bitcoin and on to better things. Is that coming anytime soon?
Yeah, that's a really good question, and it's got many different answers. So, I mean, one of the reasons why it is staying, it's because of proof of work, because it's more secure, because the value will at least be the cost of the proof of work, So, gotcha. Yeah. On the downside, it's horribly, power consuming to run.
Yes.
Yeah.
What I'm hearing is the miners can't even really make money off of their mining aspects because the cost of the power has been increased recently. A lot of these countries that were nearly giving the power away, people were building these huge mining farms in those areas, and then all of a sudden they're realizing, wait, we're getting all our power sucked away. We need to raise our rates a little bit. Now that's putting a bite on the operators to realize, well, wait a minute, we're not really making any money doing all this mining.
Yeah, but I don't think that's short-sighted, I think, by most. Because, if you don't have enough funding to operate a couple of months without profits, then it's the wrong business. I do some mining now and again, and I don't expect profit. I expect to keep the coins, and I hope for them to grow. I mine a lot of different coins, not only Bitcoin, of course. So I think it's you need to have a far perspective if you're going to mine with the current evaluation.
Good point.
Just hold the coins that you get and have it as like an expense for now.
So that's the term HODL, I think was the big term that came up. Before you guys speak, I want to just check. Is guest 1294, would that happen to be Hassan Khan out of Pakistan? If it is, feel free to jump in the seat. If not, that's fine. We're just waiting for another guest, and I didn't know if Hassan figured out how to create an account or did open an account or just came in here as a guest or not. So I just wanted to throw that up. But Don, you were gonna say?
Oh, no. No, it's just that I'm still learning myself. So it's like I'm always finding new understandings of this. It's like even what can be connected to a card like this, for example. You can have multiple currencies going into one account, which I think is super cool too.
Yeah, that's a good point that you made, Don, because of the fact that a wallet is just an address on a space on the internet, basically, or in the software itself, which is a database. That's really all it is a database of transactions. That number doesn't tell you what type of money came to be that bought that Bitcoin. So you were dealing in lira, you're dealing in yen, you're dealing in whatever, but that money is being transferred through the Bitcoin standard versus the other. But what you're really doing is spending on that little card any currency available in the world. So if you wanted to, that's what we're really hoping for. I'm looking forward to the day that I don't have to go through an exchange process. I like the idea of a global currency. What's wrong with a global currency, I think? Is there something there that's stopping us from having a coin that has a monetary value across the globe? Do we know what that is that's stopping us? Either of you. I'm just throwing that out on the table to see if you guys can comment on it, because I get that, struggling countries, their coins aren't going to be worth a lot. So what does that do to them? If we make a standard across the board, like one Bitcoin equals $1 of, the world dollar, then those people that would normally be getting 20 cents an hour, what are they getting now? Are they still getting 20 cents an hour? Does that raise the standard of living for everyone by doing so? Are there? I wouldn't think so.
No, it will be the same.
Yeah,
it just going to be nice, but I think that most countries, like China, for example, when they've changed their currency valuation, stuff like that, those kind of things will come up. They can actually say, yeah, well, our valuation has changed. We're going to go with this number, and it's like that's all. Just they can pull that number out of the air. That's what's really bizarre about it.
You see a lot of countries pulling away from the U.S. dollar. They want control of their monetary system instead of having to relate everything to the U.S. dollar. And it's causing a lot of waves right now in the banking industry because they're starting to consider these as pullaways. That's really what's happening. China's doing it. Japan's considering it. The EU, several nations in the EU want it that way. And you can't stop somebody, obviously, because look what happened in the crypto space. Everybody started making their own money, is basically what people are saying. Isn't that what it's kind of coming across as, Alex, to most people? That just everybody's out there printing their own money and using it however they want?
Yeah, I think that, I think that most people are in it for the money. I'm just going to put it out there. Most people are in blockchain for the money. I guess 95%. Then you have these guys like Essen in Pakistan, that is really passionate about everything about developing this and tying it into governments and so on, and into agriculture, building systems to create a better Pakistan.
Yeah, I agree.
That's a small percentage of people involved. Most are traders, like I was when I began.
Well, look what it changes. Can you just shout off or spout off some of the things that having a cryptocurrency in place could do with regards to corruption in government, with regards to the art space industry, as to knowing who has claim to a copyright on something so that we would know when that copyright was established. We've got so many features to this open ledger that could be used to clear up all, if not many, of the problems we have transacting with others on this planet.
I mean, just look at health organizations or welfare organizations. When you donate to the organizations, you have no idea where the money goes, you know. And these guys that run the organizations are extremely rich. That's disgusting.
Yeah.
And with blockchain, you will have full transparency where it's going. So that is one of the good things there. And also what Esten is working on, implementing Internet of Things in agriculture, measuring, I mean, air humidity, soil quality, and so on in the blockchain. And when they deliver, I mean, when they harvest, it goes on the blockchain. When they ship, it goes on the blockchain. You can follow the whole shipment from start to end. I mean, from seed to eater.
Yeah, I think anything with a chain of command benefits from the fact that you have this process available. And that's something I've been kind of playing around myself. I don't dabble in it, but I've read up on it, and I've seen the other technologies that are coming out as well. Now, I know you're familiar most off with blockchain, but I'm just going to throw in there just to throw people off a little bit, because that's what I like to do, is break rules every now and then. That there are other technologies that are very similar to blockchain. One in particular is Hashgraph, which is a very similar principle, but instead of using individual units to carry an entire block of data that may repeat itself, like Don said, having an open ledger can be very resource intensive, because you're having to share all this data across several nodes. And that node, it's repetitive data, it's redundant data, because that's what we want. We want a secure system. But in essence, it's a lot of data to spread around. So the Hashgraph principle is based on basically the what they call, I can't think of it now, it just popped right out of my head, gossip theory, which is based on only sharing, like, I know what C said, and I'm going to share that with A. I'm B, let's say, and I know what C said already, so I'm just going to share this little piece that already hashed, that a hash that has what C said, and what I'm going to add to it. So I'm not having to recreate the wheel each time. And they're seeing a lot faster processing speed in that way when it comes to processing transactions. So ultimately, we're in no way compared to a Visa transaction script right now, right, Alex? So they're not even close to the amount of transactions a Visa card can pull off through a standard banking system, right?
Yeah, actually we are. If we look at...
oh, really?
Yeah, if you look at what BankX is doing with the Plasma protocol, they I think they're up to 40,000 transactions per second right now.
Oh, okay.
And it's only in testing phase, and they will increase the number soon.
So that's big news. What do you see coming next, Alex? As far as things that are in the works, do you see anything that's maybe that you can speak on, of course, that's maybe not something the public is really paying attention to, that's going on in that space right now that is making waves?
I guess this year we will see more regulation, and that's a good thing, I guess. Some people won't agree with that, but it will. It will lessen the entry barrier for new people, because they need regulations to feel safe. So we will see more people coming into crypto in maybe not this year, but at least next year after the regulations are complete. So, I mean, if you look at the numbers, I think it's going to expand a lot next year. This year, we will see. I mean, people are not coming in if the value, continues to go down. That's the way it is.
What do you think happened this year, Alex? I know in the last couple of years, we were seeing huge spikes at the end of the year. When it came December, rounding into January, there were theories that were presented for years going that, that's when all the drug dealers on Silk Road would cash in their Bitcoin for real money after selling all their drugs off for the holiday season, which there's a little bit of truth to that. But besides that in itself, I was going with that in a different direction before I got off on Silk Road. The reason I say it is I think a lot of people do think it's a tulip. It's one of those bubbles that's about to burst. Is there anything that you do or say to people to more or less give them that security, that sense of security or confidence that this is a legitimate currency, that this is something they can trust? Is there a way to go about showing people that this is a real deal and that it's not just some balloon theory that's going to burst?
Now they just need to learn the basics of decentralization, and this is the main part. I mean, this is the reason why it's staying, why it's not a tulip bubble. Maybe the evaluation is too big or too small. Who knows? But I mean, it's here to stay. It's already a given.
Yeah.
Sure seems that
Well,
way,
there's
doesn't it?
governments that are adopting it as they're using it in governments now. So it's not like they're not going to jeopardize their money by jumping into something that's unstable.
Yeah,
it could be
who's on board?
volatile as heck.
I mean,
Who's on board right now, Alex? Go ahead, finish your thought.
yeah, I was going to say, I mean, Bitcoin might go down to $1 or vanish. It doesn't matter. Something else will survive in this space and flourish. I don't care if Bitcoin goes to $1 or 20 million. I don't care.
Only those that are holding a lot of Bitcoin right now.
Yeah, I mean, if they only hold one coin, it's their own fault. They need to diversify. I mean, but I had some pro Bitcoin people are only holding Bitcoin. They think everything else is shit coins, and it's their opinion, and this is my opinion.
Yeah, it sounds like Tony's opinion. I've heard Tony say that all the time when he's talking. If you don't, what's Tony's last name again? I see him doing broadcasts all the time.
I don't know.
He was a finance guru back in the day on Wall Street and stepped out to take on Bitcoin and thinks he knows everything about Bitcoin, which he knows quite a bit, but he doesn't hold much weight to any other cryptocurrency out there except for Bitcoin. So it has somewhat of an anarchist attitude when it comes to Bitcoin. It's how it started. We had this concept that we don't want government in our face. We don't want to messing with our stuff. We want to be able to make sales and buy stuff and give money to people, whoever we want, when we want, kind of thing. It's kind of taken a big turn from being an anarchist thing into a mainstream thing now, isn't it?
Yeah. I said that, I think it was 2.5 years ago. I said that this space is going to get regulated. And people just screamed at me. They laughed, screamed, spitted at me. You know.
I'm sure they did.
Yeah, and look at this space now. I mean, it's you need KYC wherever you go. It's regulated already. You
have to have some kind of control and some kind of rules in place in order for anything to work, if it's going to be manageable. If it's something that you just want to develop into chaos and find out what the result is, you can go that way without any rules involved. But when people said decentralized and no control, no this, no that, I always knew government's not just going to let you make your own money and print your own money and do what you want with it in order to buy government things, pay your taxes, that kind of stuff. You're just not going to get away with it. But if you want to barter with your buddy, there's no reason you can't stamp a coin out of a piece of wood and say, here's your wooden nickel. I'll take that lawnmower. That's free trade. That's what it's all about. So we have that ability. We can do that whenever we want. And I can only see it getting better.
That's called bartering. The currency,
but that's kind of what crypto is, though, isn't it, Alex?
But the currency,
really
though,
bartering right now.
It's different when it comes to regulation, because I think that it's been operating pretty well without regulation up until this point, and it seems like it probably would have kept on running pretty well. The reason regulation comes about is so governments can suck money out of it. That's where the regulation comes from. That's just plain and simple truth. If you can't accept that as truth, then there's no argument.
That is the truth. But governments need money in order to build a country as well. We cannot forget that. I mean, if the government
governments can buy the same currency that you and I can buy.
Yeah, they can. But we need to then what we would expect in a society of that nature, though, and I think Alex is going to agree with me here, is that then we would have to build the roads. We would have to build the bridges. We would have to put in all those things, all the underground utilities, everything that comes with the government that we're paying for in our taxes. So how does that get built if we just become anarchists?
You're talking about taxes and you're talking about currency. They're two different things.
In a sense, yes.
But what money is the government going to pay with if they're going to buy Bitcoin? They need. I mean, it's it's not
Well,
possible.
they generate their own money right now. They print their own
They
money
just
right
make
now.
it up now.
They just make it up. They've been doing that forever, since the beginning of time.
We
Yeah,
just
but
keep
beginning of
borrowing it from China. Well,
That's what makes cryptocurrency so valuable, because it's based on a very strict number of rules. The rules are set in stone. Those rules are there for a purpose, to put a value on a certain block number of cryptocurrency. So those things are there. The fiat currencies, the dollar bill has been able to be printed at random whenever they want. They just say, "Oh, we need more money, to print more."
Pretty much.
There's never been any. That's why the dollar goes up and down so volatilely sometimes.
Mm-hmm. All right. Well, we're going to let Shlomo step in here for just a second while we got him on camera. We got about 10 minutes left of the broadcast. Oh, he didn't have to leave, Don, but that's okay. What do you got to say, Shlomo, if you got any questions for Alex?
Okay, so I know absolutely nothing about it. That's why I jumped in on the broadcast.
Sure.
And I've been given a pretty darn good education right now, and I sincerely appreciate that. The question that I have now, it would be, what are some of the countries, the governments in some of the other countries, like China and Russia, doing with respect to the blockchain and Bitcoin and the currencies? And if they were to, Bitcoin's being regulated, but I haven't heard who's doing the regulations. So you could enlighten me on that. And also, these, say, China and Russia, are they actually moving forward on regulation of that? Do they accept it? Is that going to be part of their financial infrastructure for running a government?
Good questions.
Good questions. Yeah. So, I mean, regulations are local. You have different regulations in every country. And today, there are not many regulations. What is in place is the planning for regulations, the research into regulation on how to adopt this on a governmental level. So it's still an ongoing discussion in most countries. In Sweden, it's totally legal. Here we have a legal framework that if I buy crypto and sell it, how I should pay the taxes for the profits and so on. That's already finished here in Sweden. On the contrary, here in Sweden, we have no regulations on how to create like a startup, an ICO. If you want to do a crowdfunding on the blockchain, that is not available here in Sweden as a framework today, and it's different in every country. We have some countries like Malta, what's his name again? The minister, foreign minister in Malta.
Yeah, I can't remember that guy's name.
Yeah, he's extremely pro blockchain. So what he has done in Malta is to create the largest framework to promote blockchain. So companies are searching their way to Malta right now, and billions of dollars are pouring into that country because of that. He's a smart guy. And more countries should do the same if they want to stay on top of the game and get some external funding into the countries. It's a fantastic way to do it, and I applaud that guy in Malta. But regarding Russia,
go ahead.
Regarding Russia and China, it's nothing clear from those countries. China actually shut down everything 2 times as we speak right now. Today, I think they are creating their own framework as well. It's nothing that is totally finished yet, so we just have to wait and see.
You see, my
how many countries?
Well, go ahead, Leland.
I just wanted to ask him real quick. How many countries is it fully supported by right now? I know it didn't, not Japan, but someone over Hong Kong just recently opened up the doors to that as well.
You have a couple of countries. Malta is the most prominent one. You have you have like a small outbreak island from the States. I don't know what the name of these small islands. It's a small cluster of islands.
The Virgin Islands.
The Virgin.
No, not the Virgin Islands.
Puerto Rico.
I forgot the name. You have a couple of countries that is doing good
Or maybe
promotion
the
on.
Dominican Republic too, as far as that goes. I think I
My
just saw.
concern, my only question, I guess, would be that because China and Russia are two of the largest economies, as well as India, are part of the largest economies of the world. You know, this can morph and grow and develop, you know, throughout the you know, the other countries of the world. But if those particular countries reject it outright, which based on my studies of gold and silver, I'm not so sure that they're so quick to adopt the blockchain technologies as a form of currency. China itself has promoted for the last 10 or 15 years that their citizens buy gold, and they have gold dispensing ATMs. You put in your American dollars, and it kicks out gold coins. And
really?
that's what they're doing in China. And in Russia just secured, I think it was 146 tons of gold on the open market last year alone. 146 tons of gold, and I'm not
Think about it.
I'm not naysaying the blockchain stuff, but it appears to me that some of these countries are in fact preparing for the imminent collapse of the American dollar as the world currency, and they're backing their own currencies with gold as opposed to the blockchain technology. So, you know,
I think what I understand what you're asking. I think that I mean, it's only a very, very small percentage of all blockchain related projects that is about payments. The other stuff is completely other innovations, like I said earlier, like connecting Internet of Things into agriculture. So that has nothing to do with payments.
Yeah.
So if a government is saying no to blockchain, they will lose an immense amount of opportunity. So I don't think that is going to be possible for a government to say no. They need this, because if they say no, they will. I mean, it's like saying no to nuclear power when that came up on the map. Then they would be in the dust, you know. So it's the same. It's the same level of engagement, I think.
okay, thank you very much.
And just for those who haven't been listening to what we have been talking about with Hassan and his articles, I'm just posting those. If you haven't gotten a chance, I know I didn't leave the links earlier. If you're interested in any of the stuff Hassan has written about recently, you can go find those there. Hopefully we'll get him on the show again soon, where we can actually talk with him about some of the technology aspects of it, because it really does come down to, like Alex said, it's not just a coin. It's not just, and in all essence, it's not a coin at all. Any coin that you happen to see is just a representation of a concept. It has nothing to do with actual physical money that is available. If you do get one in your hand, it's just a replica. It's something to represent. And they're doing it with a lot of these coins now, aren't they? But I think some of those actually have some value. I've seen where they have a number written on them to the wallet or something like that, and it's like a hold on that coin. Are you familiar at all with any of these coins that are actually worth money?
Yeah. I mean, you can on most blockchain you can use something that is called a paper wallet. Instead of having a mobile application, you can actually print your Bitcoin on a piece of paper, and it's not connected to the web, of course. So it's totally offline, and it's the most secure way to store your crypto. And you can do the same on a coin representative. You just print the I guess your private key.
That's a way for you to never lose your money, at least, as long as you don't lose the coin, right? If you lose the coin, you could lose $10,000 or $1 million worth of wallet value.
I have a couple of friends who lost their private key, who lost their hard drives a couple of years back. This was 7 years ago, so they don't want to talk about it.
I'm sure they don't. I was one that held, I was given like $3 worth of Bitcoin in 2015 when it was worth about $300 at the time. And it jumped to 20,000 that year back in 2017. I couldn't find my wallet either. I had no idea where. I was on a phone, I believe, that I had transferred another provider. And when I gave them the phone, he wiped it right in front of me. And I thought back at that moment and said, I got all my contacts off the phone, but totally forgot about my Bit wallet. So it was like, God, that was a stupid move. I probably would have had, I mean, it would have only been $25 worth of Bitcoin in essence, but it was something that just got tossed. So give me 30 seconds, guys. I'm going to wrap up this broadcast and stop it before we finish up. So I just want to thank all those out there on YouTube and Facebook. If you happen to stop by at Wake Up West Coast here this morning, we do appreciate you coming by and being a part of this conversation with us. Today, we had Alex Bertlin out of Sweden talking about currency of a crypto nature and some of the stuff that he's involved with over at BitDepository. We were hoping to have Hassan Khan from Pakistan in the house as well, but he didn't make it. Maybe next time. We'll see you in the next video, everyone. Take care and have a wonderful week.